Marcel is an entrepreneur who wants to save the world. After watching a documentary about water scarcity, he has an idea for a system that could produce clean and fresh water. After some works, he developed a concept that is ready to be presented to a first customer and decide to try it in one of the driest places in the world, the island of Setresho. For that, he wants to meet Miss Pam Orama, the head of the local water utility. He sends her email, but she does not respond. Calls her assistant so that he can arrange a time to meet, but she does not respond also. However, Marcel is a very good entrepreneur and he keeps on trying. Ultimately, he managed to get an appointment and he travels to the island of Setresho to meet Miss Panorama. He does a wonderful presentation and show all the benefit of the idea. But to his surprise, she seems unimpressed and even skeptical. After he finishes his presentation, Miss Panorama thanks him for his time, and Marcel is politely asked to leave the premises, but with no clear step for a following discussion. Back at home, Marcel is puzzled. He had a great solution, but Miss Panorama just seemed to not care. Something was wrong. Marcel could understand if she was not responding to his email, because at that time she didn't know about his solution. But now she knew. So how could she not be more interested? Maybe he wondered she was not interested because she did not understand. But she did seem to be pretty smart. So if she knew the fact, and she was smart enough to understand them, but was still not interested in such an obvious choice for the island of Setresho, then she must have a secret agenda. Frustrated, Marcel decided that because of her agenda, the people of Celtresho would be missing a fantastic opportunity. But he was an entrepreneur and he had to move on and try to sell his idea elsewhere. And the same experience kept repeating over and over. Because Marcel was wrong. Not that Miss Panorama had an agenda. He did have one, but not necessarily a malicious one. He was wrong before he even met her, because Marcel failed to see the system around her. In the previous videos, I introduced the first step in thinking of your startup from a political perspective, by shifting your focus from the vision you want to achieve to the problem that you are trying to solve. In this video, we will continue expanding our understanding of the system by focusing on the work at the center and try to figure out why Marcel failed. My name is Olivier, and welcome to the Defacto Entrepreneur. To start thinking politically about our business, we saw in our last video that we need to shift our attention by placing the problem we are trying to solve at the center of a web of stakeholders. In our framework, a stakeholder is a person or a group of people who share similar influence, level of engagement, similar stakes, and very importantly, a shared perception of what needs to be done to address the problem at hand. And today, we are going to focus on that difference of perception by introducing the concept of work. We will talk a lot about work, and as we dive deeper in the framework, its definition will also expand and become more complex. But for now, I want to keep it simple and define the works as all the activities that needs to be done to address a problem. In most cases, we usually have to do multiple things at the same time to address one given problem. Some activities are abstract or long-term, others are more concrete or practical. To help sorting these activities out, I'm introducing another concept, the level of abstraction. Activities at high level of abstraction are more strategic or more overarching in importance. Lower level of abstraction activities will describe activities that are more practical or more tactical. You can go from a high level activity to a lower level activity by answering the question how. You can go from a lower level activity to a higher level activity by answering the question why. The purpose of this level of abstraction is actually to help us sorting out the different conception of the work from the different stakeholders so that we can start to understand where the conflicts between stakeholders are emerging. So, to put that in practice, let's look at Marcel. The good thing here is that we choose a case where we have only two stakeholders, Marcel and Miss Panorama. Marcel probably started with a pretty good assumption that for a country as dry as Cetrecho, where water could be so rare and expensive, the provision of new source of water to the people would be a main problem to address. And his view on how to address it through the use of his solution would be also a fair representation of what should be done. Miss Pam may have agreed with Marcel about the definition of the problem, but not necessarily on how to solve it. Maybe for her, the problem was a problem of distribution. There were enough water, but maybe the pipes were leaking, or there were not enough pipes to connect the people to the water distribution system, or the water had to be trucked. In any case, Marcel's solution was focusing on production, and therefore not addressing her concern. Maybe her problem was that the people in Cetrecho were not paying for the water in the first place, and as a result, she could not have the capital necessary to deploy solutions such as the one Marcel was proposing. And even if she did, she could not have the opportunity to recover the cost of Marcel's solution. Maybe Marcel was not the only one trying to get her attention, and Miss Pam was flooded with requests from other entrepreneurs such as Marcel. And though she had the capital, and though she had the willingness to implement this solution, she didn't have the time and the resources to analyze all these solutions and select the best one for Cetrecho. Or maybe her problem was actually at a higher level of abstraction than Marcel. Maybe she was more concerned with the overall economical well-being of people in Cetrecho. Providing water was one of the issues at stake, but so was sanitation, employment, food supply. How she prioritized this issue was unknown to Marcel. Miss Pam had an agenda. Marcel was absolutely right about that, but it was not a malicious one. Marcel was wrong because his solution was not addressing mass perception of the work. He failed because he was too focused and blindsided by his own vision. But now, let's imagine what could have happened if Marcel had looked at Cetrecho from a political perspective. Have engaged Miss Panorama in a very different manner. He would have first acknowledged that the relationship will require time and effort to be built. But this would have been a worthy investment because Marcel could have gathered information about what was really the problem that Miss Pam needed to be addressed, and probably also what were her constraints. As a result, Marcel could have adapted his strategy to the context of situation and increased his chances of success. For example, if it was about distribution, he could have brought along a partner with expertise and bundled his solution with the one of that partner. If it was about revenue from water sales, then he could have added a pay-as-you-go feature in his technology. If it was a broader concern about the economical well-being, he could have tried to differentiate his approach from a direct technology play to something more encompassing of Cetrecho's interest, like job creation, capacity building, or even protection of the environment. And this could have helped him actually address issues regarding the competition and help him differentiate his solution against the one of his competitor. You see, by making sense of his context first, Marcel is now able to act politically. And this process of gathering information and designing strategy is an iterative process. First, you have to select the two problems that you want to address and put it at the center. Then you need to identify the stakeholders who have a stake in that problem. Then, once you understand their stake, try to also evaluate their influence and their level of engagement. Then you can understand their perception of the work. What do they think needs to be done? And you can use the level of abstraction as a diagnostic tool to help you with that. Then, with all that knowledge, you can start updating your own understanding of the problem at the center and design new strategy that may involve new stakeholders, new approaches, new resources. Every iteration of this experimental process would have helped Marcel improving his understanding of what's going on in Cetrecho. It would have enabled him to identify new resources or new avenue for partnership, and it would have enabled him to design a sound and a better targeted strategy with a higher chance of success. In the next videos, we will continue to follow Marcel in his exploration of Cetrecho, and we will use his adventure as a way to expand our understanding of the system of stakeholder and of the works. We'll see that there are really two types of work, one that is relatively easy to address and one that is not. But for now, bye bye.